Connor Beltway looper pedal. It's a really small pedal, fits right in the palm of your hand. It's a lot smaller than, say, the Boss loop station, and it has just a few controls on it. There's a volume level, so you can control how much volume you're pumping out. There's a foot switch which controls recording, playback, erasing, all of the different functions. And there's a toggle switch where you can play things that you've recorded at half speed, which also drops the pitch, or you can play them at reverse. It also has a USB connection, so if you want, you can actually take the loop off the pedal and onto your computer, or vice versa. You can take the loop from your computer and put it on the pedal. I haven't gone that far, I haven't really experimented with that, but it is a feature that I should mention. It's kind of hefty for its size. It has a nice good heft and weight to it, so it definitely feels robust. It's an aluminum case, and it has a nice rubber traction on the bottom, so pretty cool if you're putting it on a smooth surface. Super small, as I mentioned, so it'll fit really easily in your pedal board without taking up as much room as, say, that Boss looper station. What I found was, because there's fewer foot switches on there than, say, the Boss station, you have to be a little more careful about whether you're tapping once, tapping twice, or holding, and those commands will do something different based on whether it's actually in record, playback, or stop mode. So it can take some getting used to. They're not that expensive as well. I've seen these going for something like $50, so they're not that expensive. This was a gift from my friend Justin over at Demonic Sweaters, and you should check out his video. He's done some pretty cool looper stuff with this pedal. I'm going to go ahead and have some fun with it now and just show you some of the features that it has. One of the cool features that it has is it can do a half-speed playback and a reverse playback. And I say they're cool, but maybe the half-speed is not so useful. It also drops the pitch quite a bit when it's slowing it down. I don't know how often I would use that, but let's take an example of that. I said it wasn't that cool, but then immediately after I recorded the first thing, it was enticing enough to want to play along with. But it does drop the pitch quite a bit. Let's do something with just some lower notes, and it's a little more obvious, a little more in your face. So kind of cool because it sounds like a bass guitar, so if you don't have a bass guitar, maybe that's a way to do it, but trying to think about doubling the tempo so that you get it right, maybe not ideal. Reverse, so that's pretty cool. You can't overdub or record when you're in half speed or reverse mode, and that can be, I feel like that can be a little frustrating. I'm sure it's something that you get used to, but the pedal is very small. That's its strong point, but it's also its weakness, because when you're staring down at your pedal board, even from this position when I'm sitting here and looking down at it, that switch to toggle between half speed, normal, and reverse, it's pretty small, and it's easy to miss when it's actually in one of the configurations. So if, for example, I'm trying to clear what's on the recording, and I'm going to hold the foot switch down when it's stopped, so it's not playing back, hold the foot switch down, it'll clear the recording. Well, if the switch is toggled to half speed or reverse, then I'm holding and pressing all I want. It's just not going to do anything. So that can be a little bit counterintuitive. The other thing I noticed when I was testing this out is it has a little volume control on there, so you can control the output of the pedal, and that's kind of standard for a lot of pedals. But what I found is what might visually look like a low volume setting and not all the way off doesn't actually produce any sound. So you've got to crank the volume a little bit over the minimum before you see anything. So that's a bit disconcerting, because you might feel like, well, the volume isn't all the way down, why is nothing coming out? And you're checking your cables to see if there's a faulty cable or if the battery's dead in one of your pedals. No, it's just because turning the volume up above 0 doesn't immediately produce any noise. The visual design of the pedal with that little infinity symbol 8, also, it's a bit confusing. So at which point is 0 on the volume? Because it's not at the lowest arc of the infinity symbol of the 8, and you do have this little marker over here which sort of suggests that maybe that's part of the volume, but no, that's actually just pointing to input and output. So that's kind of visually confusing. And then the kind of racing lines, or whatever those lines are, they sort of swell and diminish, so they might also suggest that that's growing and decreasing volume, but not so. Once you get used to it, that's not going to matter. My point is, just out of the box when you plug it in, visually, it's not exactly as intuitive as I'd like it to be. But it is a simple pedal. You know, I've got one of those Boss Looper stations, and I've talked about that in another video, and there's 2 foot switches on that, and there are a number of knobs for controlling instrument volume, mic volume. There's a drum loop station on there. There is a reverse button. You can record up to, I don't know, 7 or 8 or 11 different loops. So it does a whole lot, and it's a bit more complicated. And I've gotten used to that. So this definitely is a much more simplified pedal, so it's much more plug and play, and I think that's the advantage of it. It's just smaller on your pedal board and less to worry about. So let's go ahead and have a little fun with it and just see how we like the sound of it. So you just tap once to start recording. You tap it again to overdub. Double tap it to stop, and hold it in to clear. So it's a little different than maybe the looper station in terms of what each tap sequence means, but you know, once you get used to it, it's very straightforward. If you hold the foot switch in while it's playing, it'll undo the last recording that you made. So you don't like what you recorded, just hold it in while you're playing back the loop, it'll undo that. And then maybe you want to change your mind and bring it back, you can hold it again, you can hold the foot switch in again and bring that loop back. Holding the foot switch down when it's already got a loop on there, and when it's stopped playing, we'll just clear what's on there. And 2 taps and it turns it off. So you can turn the entire thing to reverse mode and it's pretty cool, but it's hard to see how you might use that in a live performance. It's probably something more for one lick or one lead line that you're going to slice in during a performance, or more for recording, but it is a cool effect. So very simple and easy to use, but it does require some referring to the manual to just figure out all the different ways you need to tap and hold in order to clear and overdub and start recording. That's the Donner Beltway loop pedal. It's pretty cool. It did have one weird moment where I was trying to remember what the right sequence was, double tapping, single tapping, holding it in order to accomplish something, and maybe I just set too many commands in too quick a succession and it seemed to malfunction and the whole thing just shut down and issued a weird whining noise through the amplifier. So I had to turn the amp on to standby and unplug and plug the pedal back in, which is weird. I've never heard a guitar effects pedal make a noise like that or malfunction like that before, so that was a little strange. So yeah, I think my drawbacks were that weird malfunction, the fact that the volume control, you really need it a little bit north of 9 o'clock, maybe at 10 o'clock before you start getting a good signal, so anything in the 7 or 8 o'clock, even though it's above zero, so to speak, it doesn't really function. And for me, just the main thing is a learning curve. And the fact that some of those commands I feel like are a little bit different to what they mean on the Boss looper station, and I think that's what's going to confuse some people. If you're used to one looper pedal and you're going to experiment with another, it might trip you up a little bit. But for 50 bucks, pretty cool looping, you can have a lot of fun with that. So thanks again for watching, and if you like what you see, don't forget to click the like button, hit subscribe so that you're notified when I post new content, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you.